Welcome back this morning. By the most recent studies, about 1 in every 3 Americans is either overweight or obese. And it's putting a strain not only on people's health, but also the entire healthcare system. Millions is wasted because of this in terms of healthcare spending. And so to talk about all this morning is Rich Hinchliffe with Central Vermont Medical Center. Thanks for waking up early with us.
Oh, it's great to be back, Steve. Thank you.
And so we were talking about obesity and being overweight, and it really taxes the entire body.
It does. Let's start with the heart. We all talk about blood pressure. You go to the doctors and you go in there, and one of the first things they check is your blood pressure because it's so important. And you sort of get the number, and they'll say 120/80, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that sounds kind of good, but what does that really mean?
Right.
And well, the top number is your systolic number, and what that is when the blood pumps into your left ventricle, which is a chamber in your heart. That ventricle pumps the blood throughout your body, right? And that systolic pressure is when the heart pumps and it's going against that pressure of the rest of the blood in your body. That's called your systolic blood pressure.
So that's that top number, the one
that's
you
the
want somewhere around 120?
120 is ideal.
Okay.
That's perfect. The diastolic number is when that ventricle is at rest. The blood is pumping into that ventricle and it's just relaxing there. And once it's completely filled, before it contracts, that's your diastolic pressure. And you want them both to be reasonably low. Okay. And we'll get into that. So what happens with people who are obese is they have an excess volume of blood because all that excess adipose tissue, fat tissue, it needs blood. So that it doesn't die, right? So you've got this ventricle that has to pump all this excessive blood around your body. And of course, it doesn't like that. Another problem is most people who are obese have something called arterial sclerosis, which is when they get a buildup of plaque in their arteries. So you've got 2 problems. You've got excess blood.
And now is that from diet? That's from
airways.
things like the saturated fats, everything like that?
You eat too much, eating a fatty diet, and that's what causes it. So what happens with this ventricle is it's trying to pump against all this pressure. Unlike us, when we're weight training, your body builds more muscle, right? When you have excess resistance. So instead of your ventricle being like that, it builds muscle inside, and that gap where the blood goes becomes smaller, which is the last thing you want with somebody with obesity.
Extra strain on that. And then it's also the lungs, too. Want to be able to talk about that real quick. How does it affect things like the lungs? I know you brought this in.
Yeah, well, the lungs, it creates too much weight on your chest. So you're trying to breathe in and out. Imagine 2 50-pound weights on your chest, and you're trying to breathe out. And that's
just everyday breathing.
Yeah, everyday breathing. That's without exertion. And you can imagine it's called excess work of breathing.
And so what is this right here, real quick?
Well, what this does is people who are obese, all that weight on their lungs, what it tends to do is when you breathe out, you have less air in your lungs when you finish breathing out. It's called functional residual capacity, basically the amount of air in your lungs. And those airways shut down, and so you can't breathe as much air in. So what we do is we give obese people this, and what it does is it opens up those airways so they can take more breath in. And so what you do is...
Well, let's try it out actually off air. We're out of time, unfortunately, Rich.